And welcome to another edition of the 5-Star Zone. Getting close to that holiday, Howard, where, you know what, we all get to sit back and relax, and we get to watch a lot of bowl games that, like typical bowl games, man, they've been very, very interesting. But I do want to say this, looking at the bigger picture, and we kind of touched upon this earlier, I gotta wonder, we got 42 bowl games. Howard, are we coming to the end of bowl games? Because I'm really trying to see what the significance is, because top players are opting out. I mean, Bijan Robinson from Texas is just the latest kid to say, I'm going to the pros. I don't want to risk it. I don't want to play in this game. Are we coming to the end, or I guess what's the next step for college football? Because look, growing up as a kid, New Year's Day was a holiday. You just sat there, and I mean, at the time you were young, these college players look like Greek gods to you. Like, oh my God, look at these players. But now New Year's Day kind of lost its luster, and now the bowl games kind of seem like they're losing their luster.
Yeah, I think to be fair, I mean, some of the bowl games, they absolutely are losing some of that shine. And it's funny you mentioned, the January 1st bowls. You're absolutely right, because, I remember as a player, we wanted to make sure we win that January 1st bowl. We didn't want to be at home for Christmas. We wanted to be with our teammates, because if we were home for Christmas, we weren't playing in a really good bowl game. So, it has a lot of significance. And I'd say the other thing, I mean, these bowl games traditionally have given a lot back to the communities. And that's part of the thing that really hurts the bowl games, is they don't have that ability to give back. So I'm hoping that they can keep them around and try to make them as significant as possible. But what happens, as you mentioned, when the A-list celebrity star players are not out there, it's a difficult game. But I think it's still special. I think the schools and the teams that are having that opportunity to participate are still going to enjoy it, because they still have those practices that are there where they can go and continue to evaluate not only this year's team, but some of the young talent moving into the future.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I guess the practices are beneficial for a lot of the younger players. But yeah, I mean, when you see it, I mean, especially in the bowl games being played now, there's no fans there, so you got to wonder, are the cities still benefiting from this? I mean, could we just reduce them and go from maybe 42 bowl games to maybe even, if you cut it down to 30, so that a 7-5 record gets you in instead of a 6-6 record? I mean, I don't know. And then the other thing, man, is like, you see these sponsors. I guess what's the cost benefit ratio to the sponsors? Because yeah, you get your name on a bowl, but if nobody's there and nobody's watching, was it worth it?
Yeah, I think that's the part that has to be answered. The sponsors are ultimately the ones that are going to have, I think, probably the final say, because if a bowl committee can't get that title sponsor to sign on, and that title sponsor does no longer see the benefit of having their name associated with a bowl, it becomes much more difficult. But, until that happens, I think that's maybe when you start to see some bowls go away. But I think the challenge becomes, those bowls that put them on, they don't really want to go away. So they're working just as hard as some of the institutions are to get there, to keep their place in the bowl scenario, in the bowl situation. So I know it's difficult for them as well, but not being familiar with their business model as far as the bowl side of it is concerned, it's really a tough call. But you really want to see the best games you possibly can be. There's nothing worse really than watching a game and there's no one in the stands. It's tough for directors, because they're trying to cut around and show different things, and ultimately you got an empty stadium.
Right. I mean, I feel bad for whoever has to direct the Bahamas Bowl, because it's like, you know what, just stay on the field, because it's almost like you see stray dogs in the background, like there is nobody out there. But you're right. The one thing that I will say is, every time I think that maybe the Bowls have run its course, you see a performance like Frank Gore Jr.
Mm-hmm.
How is this kid still at Southern Miss? How has he not hopped in the portal and somebody snapped him up? I gotta think, if he hopped in the portal right here, right now, within 5 minutes, every school in the nation would want this kid, including this Miami, where his father went. Is he just an anomaly, Howard? Because in this day and age of transfer portal and moving around, how is Frank Gore Jr. still at Southern Miss?
Well, I think that's a conversation, the family had. They're trying to figure it out, right? And clearly there's still a fit, and he enjoys the experience. Who knows what the future, holds for him when you talk about having those type of performances, because the reality is this: if you're playing in some of these lower level programs, I mean, these guys are getting snatched up left and right. You're seeing particularly offensive linemen that are 2-year starters, 3-year starters going into the portal, and all of a sudden, going to some big time programs because there's an immediate need, and you already have the data and the film that shows that you can play at this level. So, you never say never. But this thing is going to be fluid. And as we talked in previous shows, right now, if you're a head coach and you're coming into, this is going to be your first year as a head coach. I mean, between the portal, between people opting in and out, early signing period, trying to solidify a staff, there's so much that's on the table right now for a first-time for a head coach, period, let alone a first-time head coach. There are a lot of challenges out there, and you really have to be organized and dialed into what you want to do.
I mean, if you're a head coach, man, I just got to think that the way this goes, when you're recruiting, you're used to, you're only going to land about 5 to 10% of the recruits that you go after. But Howard, we've reached a stage now where, man, if you're a head coach, I don't know how you don't go home and just start drinking heavily at the end of the day. I mean, because you can have a guy that's committed to you and been committed to you for over a year that you think, okay, you know what? I got my QB. I don't have to worry. And then 3 days before signing day, you get the phone message, hey, coach, I love you, but I'm moving on someplace else. I mean, how do you do this? Like, Howard, what was it like? Let's go back to it. Yeah. You go to Illinois. What was your recruitment like, and compare that to how recruitment is today?
Well, even though I walked on at Illinois, I was still recruited. Just they didn't have a scholarship for me, but there were other schools that recruited me. But you'd go there, you'd spend your 48 hours on campus hanging out with the players. We didn't have all the videos and edits and things like that were being made, but it was really those official visits were opportunities for you to really connect with the team. You spend some time with the coaches, but most of the time you spent was, with, the players on the team to get a feel for, what your experience was going to be like. And sure, 48 hours doesn't tell you the whole story, but that's the way it was. And now, these young people now are having the opportunity to compete with along side by side on some of these 7-on-7 teams as early as 5, 6, 7, 8, 8th grade, whatever. And they develop bonds, not just in their own neighborhood or their own 7-on-7 team. It's from coast to coast, because as you see now, you can go play in a tournament, in Southern California one weekend, the next week you're in Vegas, the next week you're in South Florida, and you get an opportunity to see all the best players. So and with social media now, the reach is just so much larger. I watched it with my own son. He has buddies on all these teams. I'm like, well, where'd you meet him? 7-on-7 team, 7-on-7 competition, this outfitting, that outfitting. So it's been crazy, but that's where it is right now. This is where college athletics, it's just not football, it's college athletics, period. And what we're seeing now, and I know we've talked about this before, but this NIL, it's great for the kids. It's great for the young people. I love it for them, but not having something that is uniform coast to coast is a huge mistake. And we're starting to see it play out a little bit, where players are being offered more money. Players are asking for upfront cash.
Right. The signing bonus.
Yeah, this is where it is right now. And, it's really unregulated. And I'm going to tell you who it's going to have to be up to. It ultimately is going to come down to the coaches are going to have to say, hey, this is what we want. This is what we want to do. It can't just be a few. They all going to have to come together as a collective and try to get this done, because right now it is truly the wild, wild west, and it's been that way, but it's only going to get worse.
But see, here's the thing. That sounds great, but I guess, can you have the gentleman's agreement, the unwritten rule? We won't do this because if all of a sudden, man, there's that one kid. I see this fullback named Howard, and I really want him on my team, and I know I promised, but I got to have him. I gotta think that rule kind of goes away because I mean, signing day, the first one is going to be on the 21st tomorrow. I gotta think that most staffs really don't even know who they really have in the fold until the fax or whatever it does now, the email or whatever comes across, and then you can sit back and be like, okay, whoo, he's part of our class. He did not leave and go someplace else.
Yeah. I mean, there's a part of that that's very true, but the other side of that is you're still trying to sit there and hold scholarships. Is someone jumping in the portal? Do you need them to jump in the portal? They're not going to help your team next year. How many scholarships do you hold back for potential players that are out there when you know you have a need, say a left tackle, a wide receiver, and quarterback? Now all of a sudden coaches have to sit there and try to also massage that side of it. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see guys that, there's a quarterback or a left tackle that bolts, right? And here's a real example. I think it's Proctor, the tackle from Iowa that committed, the highest rated player.
Been committed over a year, right?
Yeah, it's been committed to them for a long time. Now there's a lot of speculation that he's going to be headed down to Alabama. Well, if I'm Iowa, I don't know this for sure, but if I'm Iowa, I'm not going back to the high school ranks. I'm going to the transfer portal to find that player that I need to try to help that need out at that position. And I think that's what you're going to start to see. It used to be that time, well, okay, you'll come in and go after a kid late. That's still going to be stories about that. It will be. But I think you're going to see more guys make more moves once the signing date is ended, because now they're going to go after, I think, the portal kids that there's already tape on them, the film on them. They know whether or not they fit the system. And the reality is it's probably less risk, and you probably have a better hit ratio on those players in the portal than you will with your own signing class.
That's very true. I mean, I got to look at it now as, man, if you're a coach, I don't know how you do the bowl practices. I mean, like you look at like the Jim Harbaughs and the Ryan Day in the Big Ten. You got 2 important games coming up, but you still got to take the time to solidify your recruiting class. You still got to make some last-ditch phone calls and visits to make sure everybody's happy and everybody's there. Howard, is it simply, maybe, I know we moved the 2 signing day periods, one to kind of keep people from poaching other people's recruits. Should we maybe just move this to like August 1st so that you have the whole summer, and then you could at least take a deep breath, play your season, play your bowl game, and then have the second one in February, still giving you over a month to kind of play catch up and fill up the rest of your class? Because the way it's going now, I mean, look, these coaches get paid a lot of money, but I just feel sorry for them, because when do you get time to actually coach your team, especially if you're playing in a big bowl game?
Yeah, and it's part of the process, right? I mean, you only look at the Big Ten Conference. You look at Luke Fickell, you look at Coach Rule over in Nebraska. They at least had an opportunity to get a head start. Then you look at Ryan Walters at Purdue, who just hopped on the job last week. Right? I mean, how fast does he need to be able to move? Not only that, but he already has people that are committed to him. Are they sure is he sure that they even fit the system? And the coaches that had agreed to contracts and come on earlier, they still have that same issue. But now Ryan just being hired, everything, he's trying to put a staff together. He's trying to figure out, whether or not these young people fit in the
right. I mean, I think he's had a bunch of kids who decommitted, who were like, I was actually playing for Coach Bloom. Yeah. Now I don't know if I want to play for you. So, right, it's just like, it's just a head scratcher, because my solution was this, and I've never understood why it never happened. But maybe you do. Your commitment is one of 2 avenues. If a kid commits, and you know what, son, you now have 24 hours And within that 24 hours, if you want, you can sign the paperwork, you're done, you're committed, you're locked into that school. Or if you don't want to do that, it's kind of how the commitments are now. That's a placeholder. It's not guaranteed because you can still look around. And if that's the case, we can still look around. But at least you can kind of separate the wheat from the chaff and know that, okay, these 12 players, they're serious about coming to my school. These other 8 players, well, they're out there trying to play the game. But at least I know these guys are locked up. And, I don't have to worry about somebody like Proctor at Iowa coming in. I mean, to be committed to a school for over a year and then now you're gone. I mean, you got to be frustrated. I got to feel like it's just a whole bunch of just flipping papers up in the air like, what the hell just happened here? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a way that you could go, that when a kid commits, look, we're going to give you the option. If you want, you got 24 hours, think it over. If you're really serious, you can sign the paperwork. If not, you can still do this, but your spot's not guaranteed to you.
Yeah, and this is something that I don't disagree with. The opportunity, if a player is ready to commit, go sign the paperwork and get it out the way. But what's interesting, I think for the masses, these young people are staying committed to who they wanted in the beginning. But the other side of it is this too, right? So now all of a sudden you have players who are committing, headed into their senior year because they don't really want to be bothered with the recruiting process. And all of a sudden, they were a late bloomer, and all of a sudden they go from being a 2.5-star, right, 3-star, mid-major type player, and all of a sudden now, he or she is just blown up, and he or she committed to that school early, and all of a sudden a year later, and we've all seen it happen. Guys go from no offers to a ton of offers at the end of the senior year.
I mean, that was Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
That was Jaden Reed. He was from Florida. He went to Western Michigan and became like the rookie of the freshman of the year in the MAC. It was like, you know what? Western, thank you. I'm going to move down the road to East Lansing and go play for them. Look, Howard, I know my system still has bugs in it, okay?
They all got bugs in them. That's the problem. You haven't been able to get it necessarily right, but they've got to, something has to happen. And I think right now, what's going to force something to happen is just how crazy this NIL stuff is right now. I mean, it's really out there, and there's really no regulation. And I still think until the coaches, demand this stuff to happen from their legislators, it's going to continue to be a problem. We don't have a quote unquote football czar or college athletic czar out there, and nothing's really getting done. So, it's a tough situation, but they've got to figure it out, and that's why look, at the end of the day, listen, these head coaches, for the most part, are paid millions and millions of dollars. A lot of them are. I'm sure I also know that there are some that aren't making $1 million. That's clear, but they're making a lot of money to do what they're doing, and that's part of the deal. I mean, you're going to be compensated. You're well compensated. You got to go to work. You got to hustle. You got to hunt. That's what it is when you're getting those types of salaries.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Look, it is not an envious job, but yeah, I just look at all the movements that's just happened from like the last 7 days, and with signing day coming tomorrow, it's just going to be interesting, man. I mean, what's it going to be like for you guys? Are you guys doing the signing day special on the set again?
Yeah, we'll be on the set, but we've been sitting there talking like, what's crazy is the signing day deal is good, but I mean, you could literally do a show on the portal. I mean, you could really think y'all need to do on the portal.
You need to do a portal. I think you guys need to do a portal show
because that's where it's going. That is where it's going. This signing day is going to be out of the way, and most of the kids are going to be signed. And then the focus is going to shift. Okay, we weren't able to get this person. Let's go in the portal. So now the players in the portal, it used to be a time, or at least here in the Chicago area, kids are over-recruited. Now you're going to see people in the portal be over-recruited because players now, I mean, it's free agency. Call it what it is. It really is free agency. And God forbid the player, has experience and is a good player. Now all of a sudden, it really is free agency as far as the highest bidder that has the opportunity to come in and get that young person's services.
Now, I'm with you because, yeah, I mean, you're just looking at it every day. And the thing that's funny about the portal is because you got the scholarship limit, it's like, okay, do you go all in on this kid? Because guess what happens to tomorrow? I didn't know this kid was jumping in the portal, or we wouldn't have took this kid. But now stuck with this. It's like, but if you wait too late and nobody else jumps in, well, now you missed out on that wide receiver, or you missed out on that safety that you wanted. Yeah, the portal is funny because I think it does help. I think it's kind of leveling the balance of power where it's not a clear cut of the haves and the have-nots. You look at this college football season where, I mean, if there was ever a perfect time for the 12-team playoff, it was this year. Because Howard, I can make a case for 6 teams that can win the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I do think that the portal is doing that because teams like Alabama don't have the depth that they used to have, where you would have, Devontae Smith sitting behind Jerry Jeudy, sitting behind Henry Ruggs, sitting behind all of these top wide receivers and waiting his turn. You would see it at Ohio State where Chase Young is sitting behind the Bosa brothers, and I'll just wait. Where now it's like, you know what? I could just go up the road and I could play immediately. So
but you couple that, right? Because it used to be, okay, I can get you prepared for the NFL.
Yep.
You're going to, because that was the pitch, or is the pitch at Alabama. I'm going to get you ready. You've seen what we do and how we prepare, right? But now with NIL, you can say, well, hey, the NFL is smart enough. That's what they have scouts for. They're going to find the best players. We're going to get you prepared too. But oh, by the way, we got a couple dollars from this place over here waiting on you. If you come here, you'll be a superstar here, where you're just another number over there. So that's we're already starting to see that, and it's going to and has in many cases started to level the playing field. But those departments, those recruiting and football departments that were proactive to having a portal, having people devoted and assigned strictly to study the portal and who might be coming out of the portal, those are the schools that are being able to take advantage of it. If you've got your running back coach who's looking at tape and he's trying to keep up with the portal too, come on, man. I mean, it's not realistic. There's not enough time. Plus, coach his own kids that are already in the room and look for the new ones that he's trying to bring to the room. And then, oh, by the way, you're not supposed to have contact with the people that are in the portal until you have that time. So, a specific time. So now the 707 coaches become very important once again. The high school coaches become more important once again, because now those two become a conduit to that player and to some of the universities that are out there.
Yeah, it is funny that you now have a new level of middlemen, and I don't know, man. It's just kind of funny that you're saying that, because and the other thing too is the expectation of the portal, because the problem is I saw this at MSU. You find Kenneth Walker, and now they expect every portal player to be Kenneth Walker. And it's like, it doesn't work out that way. Sometimes you just get really lucky. But yeah, a lot of fans was like, well, how come this guy wasn't as good as Walker? Like, well, nobody was as good as Walker. Walker, he was a unicorn. He was.
That's up to the. And here's the thing: it's not just the fans. The coaches in those buildings want the next Kenneth Walker too.
Yeah.
And it takes that personnel person to go to him and say, hey, we ain't just going to find the Kenny Walker every year. That's not realistic. And that's a conversation some of these buildings, inside these buildings, they're having, because that's the reality of it. I mean, you're the coach. Oh, man, I need me another player. Go get him for me so I can coach him. He's not out there right now.
No, I mean, it's just kind of funny. We watched college football evolve from the arms race of facilities, and now it's the portal. I mean, we don't really even talk recruiting that much, because, I mean, a lot of the top recruits are back in the portal the next season, and you got to decide, okay, do you want to take another swing at them, or what did they really do that year? I don't know, man. I mean, college football, I explained to my radio partner, college football to me is evolving the way the one and done and the straight from high school did for the NBA. You didn't stop watching it, but it did change the game a little bit. Where before, when you think of some of the iconic people like the Michael Jordans and all that, they stayed 3-4 years. You knew what they were when they got to the league, and now it's guy comes in 1 year of college, G League, and it takes like 4 or 5 years for him to do something. My thing is this: I think the positive out of all of this is you're going to see new teams emerge, but I think some of the old guard may start to fall off. We look back to the early 2000s when USC and Texas and LSU, Tennessee, those were the teams, and now not so much. And I do think that you're going to see kind of the fall off. Alabama, especially Nick Saban as he gets older, how long is he going to stay there? Clemson is kind of showing some chinks in the armor as well, where there's nothing. Like Lincoln Riley to me is the one. If I had to put a stock, and I guess it's good he's coming to the Big Ten. If I had to put a stock in the coach, it's Lincoln Riley, because not only is he using the portal, but somehow, I'm not saying how, he keeps getting top wide receivers. He did it with Jordan Addison. Now he just got the kid from Arizona. He's bringing in quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams has followed him. I think USC may be on that rise back up from where they were under the Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart age to they're using the portal, they're using the recruiting, and they're using that California sun, and now they're going to have the Big Ten backing. Riley may be that coach and bringing up that team that could be that next new powerhouse.
Oh, and then, by the way, he's coaching Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks.
That's true as well. Yes.
So, those receivers are going to be coming. They're going to keep coming to be able to play, in that type of environment. And, it's changing. And really, the programs that are going to be proactive are going to be the ones that are going to be able to really continue. They're all going to take some hits in recruiting and lose kids to the portal. But now you're talking about a situation now where you could be playing for let's call it it's not a championship caliber team, but they're right underneath it, and you're a wide receiver, and you go out and you catch 75 passes. There is a great chance that there are going to be some other high-powered universities that are going to want your services for that next year. And then you're sitting there like, I got a chance to win a championship. I got a chance to do this. Oh, by the way, since I've got a big name now, I've got NIL money that's out there. Right. I mean, you've got some guys. You got people right now, that played this year who could be eligible for the draft just in this conference alone, who are going to be sitting there trying to weigh the NIL dollars versus a mid-tier or middle round draft grade. And they're going to be in a situation where they're going to be like, you know what? This college thing isn't that bad. Let me go ahead and take this cash that I know is coming.
Right. You know what? Yeah, I can hang around. I could be a kid for one more year before I have to be an adult and hit the NFL lifestyle. I already got a car. I got the cash. I got a nice crib to live in. Yeah, you're right. Life ain't that tough. I'm at the food chain in this college city. So
I saw a tweet. Oh shoot, it must have been just 3 or 4 days ago. And I guess it was a former coach or a 707 guy. He was like, I just talked to a player last night. He's on full scholarship, gets all his Pell Grant money, getting like $75,000 in NIL, and he's talking about he can't live on that. That's where we've gotten to. That is where we have gotten to.
Right. Okay.
Imagine.
I need to talk to that kid and tell him, son, when you have $20 to last you for 1 week, you get creative. You find out how to pool things with your friends. Yeah, you learn what the pizza specials are when it's $5. And yeah, you lock the door and make sure nobody get in who didn't put in the money on that slice. So yeah, you can't live off of that. Well, I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, listen, I had one. I got one now that's finishing up in Notre Dame. And I'll call that dude on a random Friday or Thursday. He's talking about, we getting ready to go to Ruth Chris. Can I call you when we leave? I'm like, what? But that's
Right.
that's the kind of money these young folks are making right now.
Right. Because if I was in school, my parents would be like, "Who is she? Is that new girl you gonna bring home for the holiday?"
Right.
That's an expensive restaurant. Oh, okay. Did you rob a bank, son?
Yeah, but hey, it's we was bringing back around to these bowl games, right? I mean, this is one of the challenges, man. This is going to it's going to continue to change, and I don't really see things slowing down. So I think institutions are going to have to get creative to be able to get to get the best players to play, and then there's really no assurances because depending upon the player, depending upon their grade, depending upon their needs and wants at that particular time, will determine whether or not a player is going to, participate or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the bowls could just come up with a pool where the winning team gets this money and they split it up amongst their team, where maybe the star player gets a lot, but I mean, it's almost a winner take all. You win, and there's $2 million sitting there along with that trophy that you guys can divvy up however you want. I think you're going to get a lot less kids opting out, saying, and a lot of people are actually caring about this Bahamas Bowl or whatever bowl, because wait, it's $1.5 million to the winner. Oh yeah, we got to win this thing. It's going to be a little bit harder in that game.
You know what? I got to tell you that where we are right now in college athletics, somebody's going to try to figure that out, right? Here's the pot. Here's the winning pot for this game.
And I mean, on top of that, I mean, I would even show it off in the press release just to let the players know, just get a stack of cash and just put it in a plexiglass box and be like, it's right here. At the end of the game, the trophy is sitting on top of this plexiglass box.
Yeah. Listen, I know people are going to say, oh, but amateur athletics, this, that, and the other, we're losing. Man.
We lost.
It's out. The train is left.
Yeah, we lost cabin pressure many, many years ago. So
things out the window.
Hey, man, so you got the signing day thing tomorrow. From what times it start? Let the people know.
We get started at 1. I think we're going 1 to 4 tomorrow. Eastern time, I think, Eastern time. So we'll do that, and then it's time to sit back and get ready for the holidays and hang out, eat too much, sip on too much, and then get ready to. For me, I'm headed out to Arizona. Hopefully see this Michigan Wolverine team. I'm expecting big things out of them, and be one step closer to SoFi, and hopefully we get Ohio State there too. And then, I mean, wow, I can't wait for a matchup like that.
I got you, man. I'm looking forward to the holiday and watching those games as well to see, do we get a Michigan-Ohio State rematch out in SoFi? So you know what? How about this, Howard? You go enjoy your holiday. I'm going to enjoy mine. You guys watching and listening, we will be back a week from Thursday. So we're not coming on this Thursday because we're going to be relaxing. You're going to relax. Next Tuesday, keep relaxing. We'll be back next Thursday. We'll preview the big college football game, semifinals with Michigan and Ohio State in it. Talk about the recaps and what happened over, the signing day and what big transfer portal things actually became official. We'll have a whole lot of stuff to do after this Christmas holiday, after the holidays coming up. But enjoy yourself, Howard. Hey, man, be safe. Don't eat too much. But
all right, you do the same, my man. Happy holidays.
You're Mr. Peloton because there's a photo of you up at MSU, and I'm just like, man, you're like half the man you were a few years ago. So even if you eat something, you just gonna burn it off on your bicycle. So ain't nobody caring about that.
I'm getting ready to go hop on that Peloton now, actually.
All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Keep subscribing. We will be back a week from Thursday. Howard, happy holidays to you, my man.
Happy holidays. Enjoy.